जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। राधा गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना। यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना। यमुनातीरावनचारी। यमुनातीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना। यमुनातीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। Hare Krishna, we are reading from Canto 11, Chapter 12, Text number 18. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This text number 18, we'll recite it. Yatha nalakhe nilabandhurushma balena darunyadhimadhyamanaha anuprajato havisha samedhate tathaiva me vyaktiryam hi vani yatha nalakhe nilabandhurushma balena darunyadhimadhyamanaha अणुप्रजातो हविषा समेधते तथैव मे व्यक्तिर्यं हि वाणी यथा नलखे नीलबन्धुरुष्मा बलेन दारुण्यतिमथ्यमानः अणुप्रजातो हविषा समेधते तथैव मे व्यक्तिरियं हि वाणी. What? यथा नलखे नीलबन्धुरुष्मा बलेन दारुण्यतिमथ्यमानः अणुप्रजातो हविषा समेधते तथैव मे व्यक्तिर्यं हि वाणी. The first line. यथा नलखे नीलबन्धुरुष्मा बलेन दारुण्यतिमथ्यमानः अणुप्रजातो हविषा समेधते तथैव मे व्यक्तिर्यं हि वाणी. Word for word meaning. Yatha, just as. Analaha, fire. Khe, in the space within wood. Anila, air. Bandhuhu, whose help. Ushma, heat. Balena, strongly. Daruni, within the wood. Adimathyamanaha, being kindled by friction. Anuhu, very tiny. Prajataha, is born. Havisha, with ghee, clarified butter. Samedhate, it increases. Tatha, similarly. Eva, indeed. Me, my. Vyaktihi, manifestation. Iyam, this. He, certainly. Vani, the Vedic sounds. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. When sticks of kindling wood are vigorously rubbed together, heat is produced by contact with air and a spark of fire appears. Once the fire is kindled, ghee is added and the fire blazes. Similarly, I become manifest in the sound vibration of the Vedas. Purport. Lord Krishna here explains the most confidential meaning of Vedic knowledge. The Vedas first regulate ordinary material work and channel the fruits into ritualistic sacrifices, which ostensibly reward the performer with future benefits. The real purpose of these sacrifices, however, is to accustom a materialistic worker to offering the fruits of his work to a superior Vedic authority. An expert fruitive worker gradually exhausts the possibilities of material enjoyment and naturally gravitates towards the superior stage of philosophical speculation on his existential situation. By increased knowledge, one becomes aware of the unlimited glories of the Supreme and gradually takes to the process of loving devotional service to the transcendental absolute truth. Lord Krishna is the goal of Vedic knowledge, as the Lord states in Bhagavad Gita, Vedaisha sarvair aham eva vedyah. The Lord gradually becomes manifest in the progression of Vedic rituals, just as fire is gradually manifest by the rubbing of firewood. The words Havisha Samedhate, the fire increases by addition of ghee, indicate that by the progressive advancement of Vedic sacrifice, the fire of spiritual knowledge gradually blazes, illuminating everything and destroying the chain of fruitive work. Lord Krishna considered Uddhava to be the most qualified person to hear this elaborate transcendental knowledge. Therefore, the Lord mercifully instructs Uddhava so that he may enlighten the sages at Badrikashram, thus fulfilling the purpose of the sages' lives. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नाम्ने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we are in this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein a few verses back Krishna says to Uddhava to abandon the Vedic mantras as well as the procedures of supplementary Vedic literatures and disregard that which has been heard and which is to be heard. And he's saying simply to take shelter of him alone. And Uddhava says that, oh, I have heard from you, Krishna, you have described a lot to me, but the doubt in my heart is not going away, so you please clarify it more. And now Krishna has started speaking. In the last verse also he was talking about the power of sound and power of Vedas. And in this particular verse also Krishna says, when sticks of kindling wood are vigorously rubbed together, heat is produced by contact with air and a spark of fire appears. Once the fire is kindled, ghee is added and the fire blazes. Similarly, I become manifest in the sound manifestation, in the sound vibration of the Vedas. So Vedic life is based on moving from invisible to visible. I remember when I was new in Krishna consciousness, I had asked one of my mentors who had spent 7-8 years in the practice of Krishna consciousness. I asked him, have you seen God? Have you seen Krishna? You have spent so many years. And he replied in a short no. And I started thinking, oh, we want to attain Krishna, this is our purpose, this is our goal. But this person looks very serious, but still 7-8 years have passed, but still he has not seen Krishna yet. Does this process really work? Many of the things in our spiritual life, they are not visible immediately. Narad Muni practiced bhakti for a long time, and Lord Narayan gave him darshan, and he disappeared. And Narada wanted to see that beautiful form once again, but Lord said, no. I showed you my form just to increase your attachment for me, but now you have to work hard. You are not totally pure. Once you become totally pure, then you will be able to see me. So the process of turning the invisible into visible, that process is called as sadhana bhakti. And when we practice sadhana bhakti, grace comes from above. And when that grace comes, that is the time we can see Krishna. Either in the sound vibration, either or in the Vedas, or living in the world. There is a verse which says, Pushpe gandhe tile tailam kashtegam payasighrutam ikshav gudam tatha dehe pasyatmanam vivekatah. This verse tells how things are hidden in many of the places. He says, fragrance is hidden in the flowers. We may see the flowers, we may not be able to see the fragrance. It is hidden. It says, oil in sesame seeds. It is hidden. We have sesame oil, But if we just look at the seeds, we cannot understand that oil can come through these seeds. And then he says, fire is hidden in wood. After seeing the wood, we cannot understand fire is there. Then he says, cream or clarified butter, it is hidden in milk. Just by looking at milk, we cannot understand if cream is present or it will give rise to clarified butter. But it is there. And in the same manner, sugar is hidden in sugarcane. We may see the sugarcane, but we may not see the sugar. So we need the right method to see things which are invisible to us. In the same manner, Lord Krishna is present in the Vedic literature, provided we are able to see him in a proper manner. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India, in Sri Rangam, there were many Brahmanas who were expert in reciting Vedic literature. They were expert in reading Bhagavad Gita. But Lord Krishna remained hidden to them because they did not have the right attitude. On the contrary, there was the South Indian Brahmana who was not knowing how to read. He lacked the proper pronunciation methods, but still he had devotion. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed him his original form as Krishna. So if we want to see Krishna in the Vedic literature, the method has to be understood. The expert Brahmanas could not see Krishna in the Vedas, but the South Indian Brahmana, he was reading Gita imperfectly, still he saw Krishna. It is said in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that Brahmaji reviewed the Vedas for 3 times. He had to go through entire Vedic knowledge for 3 times, and he came to conclusion that Krishna is supreme and Bhakti is the supreme process of attaining Krishna, because he followed the right method. In today's day and age, there are many people, those who give lectures on Srimad Bhagavatam, they talk on something which is called as Bhagavat Saptaha. Saptaha means 7 days. So they have 7 days of Bhagavat Katha, and they might even cry while giving lectures, but they cannot see Krishna. Because the Vedic knowledge and seeing Krishna is beyond our material mind and senses. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha, it is said. Words fail to reach the absolute truth. Our mind fails to reach the absolute truth. But if we have the right consciousness, if we have the right attitude, then the same Srimad Bhagavatam, the same Vedic literature can give us realization of Krishna. And that is why Bhagavatam says, Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin prati shlokam abhatyavadyapi. It says that these words are capable of creating a revolution in the world's misdirected civilization. That is the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna may be invisible to us, but by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna can become visible to us if we follow the right process. So scriptures talk about the power of sound, and we also know that the best method of gaining knowledge is Shabda Praman. Shabda Praman meaning hearing from a bona fide authority. So when we hear from the right source, we can receive the right knowledge. And when the creation happened, at that time the first thing that came into being was sound or Shabda. And therefore Vedanta Sutra says, Avritti Shabdat Anavritti Shabdat. It says we get bound in this world because of sound, and if we want to get liberated from this world, it can also happen due to sound. So sound is very powerful. It is the most subtle element, because from sound, ether comes in, and then um, touch comes in, and touch, air comes in. Then after air, shabda, sparsha, rupa, form, and form. Then we have fire. Then we have taste, and then we have water, and then we have smell, and we have earth. So earth contains all the elements in together. Earth contains smell, touch, form, sound, and form. It contains everything. But initially, at the first place, there was only sound. So sound is common actually in all the elements. If we see, sound is present in ether, sound is present in air, in water, in fire, and in earth also. So sound is the common element. And therefore, when we hear Vedic knowledge, that hearing can transform our hearts. We may hear something mundane, but hearing those mundane things may not help us, because that is ordinary sound. But when scriptures talk about something, they talk about spiritual things, they talk about Krishna, that sound is no longer material. And therefore we also say Golokera Premadhana Harinama Sankirtana. When we are chanting the holy name, that sound is not material. It is coming from the spiritual world. And therefore the same sound can purify us. Krishna appears in the form of deities. It is mentioned in the scriptures that this deity form is non-different than Krishna. But when we see through the eyes of scriptures, then the same deity form, serving the same deity form, can help us come out of this material world. So therefore, hearing is very important. And unless we hear, there is no chance of deliverance. Therefore, of the ninefold processes, Shravanam is said to be the first process. And Parikshit Maharaj personified Shravanam. He heard for 7 continuous days. And it wasn't that before that he never heard. See, if we don't hear any time, it is not possible to continuously sit at one place and hear for 7 days. So Parikshit Maharaj would regularly hear about Krishna even before. And thus, when the time came, when he understood I have 7 more days to live, he did not waste his time. He said, I have to do that thing now in a perfect manner. So he went to the bank of Ganges. Otherwise, he would have performed some other method. Otherwise, he would have thought, oh, I will do some mental speculation. He did not do that, because he was having faith in the process of hearing. And if we find Shukadeva Goswami, who was the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami also heard Srimad Bhagavatam from his father Vyasadeva. And because he did that Shravanam, he could do Kirtanam, he could speak. So unless we hear, there is no chance of advancing in spiritual life. And therefore, there are so many verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam which talk about the power of hearing. Shrunvata Shraddhaya Nityam Grunatascha Swacheshtitam Kalena na ati tirghena Bhagavan Rishyate Riddhi. Parikshit says, one who hears with faith for a very short time and who endeavors for Krishna, Kalena na ati tirghena. In a very short time, Lord Krishna will appear in his heart. He will start seeing Lord Krishna if he hears with faith and if he hears regularly. So for us, when we are hearing, 2 things are very essential. We should hear regularly and we should hear with faith. Many a times people question the Vedas. They say, how is it possible that Krishna stayed in Dwarka with so many queens and so many palaces? How could it be that in the battlefield of Kurukshetra so many soldiers assembled? If doubts are there, then definitely we can ask. But those doubts should not impede our progress in devotional life. We should not remain with those doubts, thinking that this is imaginary, this is mythological, and this cannot happen in the real world. We need to have firm faith that whatever is given in the scriptures, it is right, it is perfect. And then when we start following what is given in the scriptures, the road or the door of deliverance, it opens. This particular verse talks about the sound vibration, and it also talks about Vedas, how Vedas contain different subject matters, and ultimately Vedas contain the knowledge of Krishna also. So something about the Vedas. So if somebody says, how can Vedas containing words which are material describe something that is spiritual? Words are material. If I say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, they are material. How by reading material words, I can unleash the spiritual potential? Keshav Maharaj says, old words open new worlds. Old words of the Vedas, they have the potential to open new worlds of dimension. They can open the doors of spiritual world, they can open the doors of newer realizations. All this can happen by the study of Vedas. So Parikshit Maharaj asked to Shukadeva Goswami in the 10th canto, he says, O Brahmana, how can the Vedas directly describe the supreme absolute truth, who cannot be described in words? The Vedas are limited to describing the qualities of material nature, but the Supreme is devoid of these qualities. He is asking, how can the Vedas directly describe the Supreme Truth? And Shukadeva Goswami answers, the Supreme Lord manifested the material intelligence, senses, mind and vital air of living entities so that they could indulge their desires for sense gratification, take repeated births to engage in fruitive activities, become elevated, and ultimately attain liberation. So the same senses which can drag us to the material platform, by taking help of the same senses, we can elevate ourselves to the spiritual platform. So Shukadeva Goswami is saying, even though words are material, even though our ears are material, still the Vedic knowledge is so powerful that it can help us realize spiritual things. Through material, we can go to spiritual. From invisible, we can go towards visible. So, here it says, so Prabhupada disciples write in the purport to that particular verse, they say, in all their endeavors, the living entities depend on Lord's mercy for success. Without intelligence, senses, mind and vital air, the living entities cannot attain anything. Neither elevation to heaven, purification through knowledge, perfection of eightfold meditational yoga, nor pure devotion to following the process of Bhakti yoga, beginning with hearing and chanting. So, the words of Vedas are considered to be non-different than the Supreme Lord, and therefore they are equal to Him. Therefore they are spiritual. And it is mentioned that the Vedas were never created. They never come into being. Vedas, they manifest from Brahma, or they manifest along with the creation. And therefore, in the Vedic literatures, Vedas are called as apaurushaya. Apaurushaya means they are not dependent on anything material. They are not written by any person who is material. When Vyasdeva, he was doing all the work, he actually compiled the Vedas. He did not write the Vedas. Vedas were existing from beforehand. He just compiled the Vedas. So therefore it is called as Shruti. All the Vedas and Upanishads, they are called as Shrutis. And therefore Mayavadis, Shankaracharya and Mayavadis, they say if you want to debate, you must have Shruti Pramanas. Shruti Pramanas means what? You must have references from the Vedas, not from Puranas. Because Puranas are specific to a particular kalpa, for a particular day of Brahma or a for a particular manvantar, and they are written based on the time, place, and circumstances. They are historical events which are recorded later on. That is what is Puranas. But at the same time, Jiva Goswami, he clarifies in Tattva Sandarbha, he says that Puranas are the fifth Veda. They can also be called as fifth Veda. He says Ramayana, Mahabharat, Bhagavatam, Gita, etc. He says words may be different as per different details, but meanings remain the same. Meanings remain the same. So Puranas are a bit easier to understand, but Puranas have the same essential message. So it cannot be said that Srimad Bhagavatam is not a part of Vedic literature. No, there is a verse which says that no, all these are fifth Veda. They are also a Vedic literature. And Vyasdeva said that Srimad Bhagavatam is the authorized commentary on the Vedanta Sutras. So if it is an authorized commentary on the Vedanta Sutras, on the essence of Vedas, then it has to be bona fide. And therefore by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we can get delivered from the ocean of material existence. Because Srimad Bhagavatam contains subject matter of Krishna. When we read the Vedas, we may get confused. We may not understand who is who. Like there were scholars, those who came to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada asked them, who is the Supreme Personality? Can you please tell? And they were saying, no, this is a very difficult subject matter to understand. We cannot comprehend it. He is beyond words, he is beyond time, beyond logic. And Prabhupada called a little 5-year-old girl, and Prabhupada asked her, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And that little girl said, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the cause of all causes. And Prabhupada said, even a small child in our movement knows who Krishna is. But you are Vedic scholars and you don't know who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, we don't have to go through all the Vedic literatures. The problem with Vedic literatures is there are a lot of things which are mentioned to accommodate various kinds of living entities who are at various stages of their spiritual evolution. And because of that, it contains some things about demigod worship, it contains some Abheda Vakyas which the Mayavadis refer to, and they say that no, we are one with God, which the Brahmavadis refer to, and they say no, we want to merge into God. They contain some procedures for karma kanda, ritualistic activities, and less intelligent people get bewildered and they say this is what is the goal of life. And this was the reason why Narad Muni had chastised Vyasdeva. Narad Muni had said, Jugussitam dharma kritenu shasata swabhava raktasya mahan vyatikrama. He said, because you have given lower levels to people, therefore they will not care for the restrictions. They will naturally follow the lower level. Because if you have two levels, one low level and one higher level, people will naturally follow a lower level. Naturally. Let's say if we have two options, Mangalarti at 4:30 and Mangalarti at 6 o'clock, then most likely we will choose 6 o'clock because this is quite preferable. So Narada told to Vyasa, what have you done in all those Vedic literatures? You have not glorified Krishna. You have glorified the four Purusharthas of life. You have glorified Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha, but you have not glorified Krishna. What is this? So write a book in which you will glorify Krishna totally. Although Narad Muni said this, he did not say to Vyas that you discard all the other scriptures, all the other Vedic literatures now, in which you have mentioned about the lower religions. He did not say that, because devotees are compassionate and at the same time Vedas also want to accommodate all kinds of living entities. So the understanding is, okay, these living entities are practicing some level of dharma, let them practice some form of religiosity at least. Even for sense gratification, that is all right. Then after sense gratification, they might want to attain moksha. They will get frustrated in their endeavors, and ultimately they will want to attain moksha. Because dharma is there, artha is there, kama iksha is there, and finally moksha is there. Narad Muni had told to Vyasadeva that you have glorified these four, but you have not glorified what is beyond moksha. You have not glorified bhakti, and that is what you need to do. So, we must not get confused with the unlimited information which is there in the Vedic literature, which can delude us, which can bewilder us. Even Bhagavatam states in the second canto that we can worship different demigods for gaining different things in our life. So it is mentioned, one who desires to be absorbed in the Brahmajyoti effulgence should worship the master of Vedas. One who desires powerful sex should worship heavenly king Indra. One who desires good progeny should worship Prajapatis. One who worships one who desires good fortune should worship Durga Devi. One desiring to be very powerful should worship fire. One who wants a large stock of grains should worship Aditi. One desiring a strongly built body should worship the earth. One who desires stability in his post should worship the horizon and the earth. One who desires to be beautiful should worship the beautiful residents of Gandharva planet. One who desires to have a good wife should worship the Apsaras and Urvashi and other society girls of the heavenly kingdom. So many things are given. This is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. But finally, after this verse, going ahead 2-3 verses, Shukadeva Goswami says, Akahama sarva kamo va moksha kama udarati tivrena bhakti yogena yacheta purusha param. He says, even you have unlimited material desires, or you have no material desire, or you desire to be, or you desire to merge in impersonal Brahman, in all these cases, worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. He does not say worship the demigods. He gives the conclusion that you need to worship Krishna. So although Vedas may talk about multiple things, ultimately the essence of all that is worshipping Krishna. And if we remain in the association of devotees, if we hear about Srimad Bhagavatam, if we hear from Srila Prabhupada, then the invisible thing which is there in the Vedic literature, as we were talking about in the beginning, that will become visible. The holy name, now holy name is also sound vibration, and we may not understand how holy name can give realization of Krishna, how holy name can reveal the name, form, qualities and pastimes of Krishna, but it is possible. The same holy name has got so much power that it can reveal us pastimes of Krishna, and not only that, it can reveal us our place in those pastimes of Krishna. That is the power of holy name. And Chaitanya Charitamrita says that holy name is not different than Krishna. Abhinnatvad nama namina. He says holy name and Krishna are not different. So when we chant the holy name sincerely, we are connecting with Krishna through the sound vibration. By chanting any other name, we cannot connect with Krishna. But by chanting holy names of Krishna, we can connect with Krishna, because it is non-different than Krishna. And we connect with Krishna in that particular way, what can happen is, we can first of all start seeing what is good and what is bad. We will see what is spiritual, what is material. We will see what is right and what is wrong. First of all, that intelligence will come, that those things will become visible to us. Krishna will give a bird's eye view of the situations in our life. Krishna will give a bird's eye view about this world, about the temporary nature of this world. And then finally, after showcasing this world through the bird's eye view, Krishna will lift our vision upwards and he will show us his form. So initially, through the process of hearing, we need to understand the futility of material existence. Then we need to understand that we need to practice bhakti. And then as we go on practicing bhakti, through this process, the invisible will become visible. And we are so grateful to Srila Prabhupada that he has given us this process of turning or transforming the invisible into visible. By the process of bhakti, we can make visible things disappear also. Like Srila Prabhupada was one time in Madras, Chennai, in India, and a very famous magician came and he was showing his magical tricks. And after some time, all the devotees were enjoying, Prabhupada was also watching, enjoying. After some time, when his tricks were done, Prabhupada asked him, "Can you make birth, old age, disease and death disappear?" Magician said, "No." Prabhupada said, "I can do it." And the magician said, "Yes, yes, Swamiji, you are the true magician. I am only a fake magician." So by the process of bhakti, what is visible to us, there is so much of chaos in the world today, so many wars, so much of unrest. All these visible things will become invisible because we will become absorbed in Krishna. And what is invisible will become visible. That is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. So these are some thoughts on this today's verse. If there are any comments or discussion points, yes. Maybe the other. You can take it. Oh, yeah.
Thank you for your class, Prabhuji. I was wondering if you have any thoughts about the worship of how Prabhupada says we worship actually Lakshmi Narayana, because just any thoughts on that as the worship of Lakshmi Narayana as a just.
So Srila Prabhupada would say that we are not in a mood where we can serve Krishna, or we are not in a stage where we can worship Krishna in the form of a friend or in the form of uh, a lover or a parent. So our worship of Krishna should be in dasya form, and even in dasya form, even in a mood of servitorship, we should worship him in awe and reverence, just like we worship Lakshmi and Narayan. That is what Prabhupada would say. So we definitely worship Krishna, but in the mood of worshipping Lakshmi Narayan. So the mood is like that when we are serving the deities, especially. That is what Prabhupada said. You can give to Jitendra Prabhu. Yes, something. You have something, Prabhu. You have something to share? Oh, okay. Okay, so we'll pause here. Thank you so much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavat Puran ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.